Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Looking Back with me, Shadow Soul Dweller. And first things first, just a quick apology. I'll say this is drops at the end of the week instead of the start of the week, but basically I've just had some time off and I've had a lot of family things going on, so this is back pegged in. But I'm still going to be dropping the top 10 as well, so you'll be getting all the content together. And also keep your eyes peeled. Also today I'm going to be dropping up my first impressions for Middle Earth Shadow of War. So you want to check that out, and my top 10. And as always, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and it'll keep you up to date on all the weekly content that's coming out. Anyway, today I'm looking back at one of the greatest games of all time, in my book anyway, and it's another game that was made back when Rareware was one of the gaming giants. And in 1997 they released Goldeneye 64, which probably was the game that actually put them on the map. And well, obviously it's a game based off the film, and for the most part it's actually fairly accurate to the film, which was quite rare for games back then, and well, for games now really, if we're honest. It was a game that was loved enough by fans that the world had a worldwide warrant to make a remake, which they brought out in 2010. Fortunately, the remake was alright, but they missed a lot of things that made the original so good. Now, I may have a slight bias on this game as well for two reasons. One, Goldeneye is my favourite Bond film, which obviously influenced the game heavily. And two, when I got my N64 off my dad for Christmas back that year, Goldeneye was the game that came with it. So, obviously it was my very first exposure to the 64 system, and obviously my first exposure to the N64, which probably of all time is my favourite gaming console I've ever had. That joined up with the Mega Drive, but obviously it's one of the games as well that influenced me to get much deeper into gaming as a kid, which obviously is the reason why I've grown up to be a gamer as I'm older. And it's just, well, obviously by the channel that I do, something I enjoy, so I'd like to share my family and my friends as well. But anyway, let's get into it. Now, obviously the first thing that Goldeneye had when it first came out was that for its game and for the time, the graphics on it were actually fantastic. I mean, it made you really want to look at everything from the guns to the enemies to the buildings, and it just made it feel much more lifelike. It was only running off a 64-bit cartridge, keep in mind. It's not like the powerhouses we have now that are just so ridiculously powerful compared. They can do so much. And the guns were obviously all designed to look as realistic as possible for the time. I mean, everything from the PP7 to the P45, which obviously, as you can guess by those names, they didn't actually have a licensing right then to use the actual gun names. So you had the Walther PPK, which became the PP7, and you had also a gun on there which was actually a joke gun called the Club. Now, people who have played this game will remember the Club probably out of all the guns because of just how pathetic it was. And it was named after one of the team members, which was Ken Lobb. And it basically was a Mickey Take gun based on the Czechoslovakian variation of the Scorpion submachine gun, which was highly considered and still is to be one of the cheapest, most rubbish guns in the world. Hence you could just smack somebody 100 times with a dual club and it really wouldn't do anything. Obviously everything else, the graphics there, they've created a great 3D environment that really allows you to explore. Although the game was built in quite a linear context, it really just let you enjoy what was around, and even the basic background that was put on it, etc. Which, as much as the N64 did, there was still a lot of games lacking for a long time having that kind of surrounding and environment developed off that system like Goldeneye had. See, one of the narratives of the game was that it was a very linear based concept. I mean, as good as it looked, you were always forced into one direction. It was a good way though. It built tension through the levels as well when you had a timer, and obviously it kept you just trying to push yourself forwards and forwards and forwards through waves and waves of enemies to complete your objective. The only level, for example, that would be an exception to that is Statue. And again, if anyone played Goldeneye, they'll remember Statue, because you spent most of that level running around in circles constantly trying to find things. It was just, for that time, that it was fantastic what they did with the graphics. It really just added that depth to it. That feat, I remember moving from the 16-bit Mega Drive to the 64-bit Nintendo and just being blown away by how it looked. And as always, when you get the new generation console comes out, you look at it and think, oh my god, it looks so realistic. Even though now we look back at it and go, ooh, polygons. But for its time, it really did jump ahead of itself, and for me, I still appreciate now how it looked, and there's a lot of people out there that do as well. But moving on, one of the other things they put into it was, obviously, it had some of the most unique handling, which people, if they remember the N64 controller, you had 3 different ways you could hold it. Well, Goldeneye was designed to be used holding the analog and the trigger with your left hand, and then having the main console buttons in your right hand. And this allowed for a very good smooth flow of gameplay, which we get in most first-person shooters now, that you can strafe and turn at the same time. But GoldenEye was the first game that truly did it, because before that you had things like the legendary games Doom, Quake, Duke Nukem, who you could turn around, but you had to pretty much turn slowly around, whereas GoldenEye was the first game that truly let you swing round, look at your opponents and start firing. So it really took the next step forward towards what we have as a modern day first person shooter with that, and it's something that's just always stuck to my head when they say about games now and how they move and how they flow. Thinking as a kid, I remember GoldenEye being absolutely amazing for that sort of thing, and I think there's a lot of first person shooters now that still don't actually match up to that kind of flow consistency. It's only really the bigger titles that seem to hit it properly. One of the main things that made GoldenEye such a good game is the replay value. Now, this ties in with the fact that the missions you were given, obviously being based on the film mostly, but the missions you were given always had the basis of you got to get from here to here, and there's things to do in between, like Silo, you've got to get to the end of the silo, but you've also got to take a photograph of a satellite on the way there. You got to collect key cards that are on the way there as well, not just to open the doors, but for the actual data that's on them. But if you go back and play this game again and again, one of the main things that people like to do with it is the time trial. Now, there wasn't actually a time trial set into the game, but I mean, a testament to how good this game is even to this day, there are people still working to break the world record times on GoldenEye levels and for the completion of the whole game. I mean, that puts it up there with games like the original Super Mario Brothers and that, where people are still trying to do that as well. But there's the full raw market for it, and there's still people that are winning cash prizes for breaking some of these world records, which I just think, as somebody that was around when this game came out originally, it's a really nice touch to know it lasted that long through time, that people can still take it that seriously. But the main thing that kept GoldenEye at the top and dominated its market for it is basically the multiplayer mode. Now, GoldenEye had an old school 4 controllers maximum split screen style of play, and you had your different game modes on there, like you do with a lot of first person shooters, but like, you know, capture areas and flags, etc. But mostly it was, you had your death matches and you built the rules, so you picked what type of weapons you wanted available, how much health people had, and also your characters. In short, you could just play around it so much, and you could have such a good laugh with a few friends. It really was the first true multiplayer game of the first person genre that really dominated. And when I was in school, everybody played GoldenEye multiplayer. It would literally, you'd meet up with your friends to play GoldenEye multiplayer. I mean, this was just before, obviously, you had Unreal Tournament and things like that came in, but still, even after they came in, there was a strong market for people that still wanted to play GoldenEye multiplayer, because it was simple, but it would just work every single time. And then you had things as well like the Golden Gun mode, where one golden gun hidden somewhere in the level. People that didn't know it, the Golden Gun was a slow shooting gun, but it always shot once and killed instantly. So obviously it's based on the man with the Golden Gun's weapon, and once you got it, you get your one hit kills, but then all three other players would be coming after you constantly, and because it fired and then it took a few moments before you could fire again, you either had to hit the target or miss, and then just run. So it really just was a good laugh through and through and through. That's why for me, still to this day, I would always give Goldeneye a 10 out of 10 just for its variety and how it pairs up with every other attribute that I've mentioned in this. So, well, if you played Goldeneye, let me know what you thought of it. I mean, if you haven't, I'd just say if you want a blast from the past, there's a lot of ROMs available on PC as well, but if you want that real experience, go get hold of an N64. I mean, I'd say to anybody of any age, go get hold of an N64, because some of the classics on there are just worth having it for. You can pick one up now for £20-30 if you look around. So I don't know how the sort of price they go in America, but still, it's just worth getting hold of. And then just let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to know what other people thought of this game, what their favourite things were about it, what are the things you didn't like about it. For me, the thing I didn't like about it was Natalia, because Natalia couldn't seem to understand that bullets kill people. Do not stand in front of the bullets. Do not stand in front of the bomb. And she is one of those members of the game where you just wish they'd move out the damn way, and you can't shoot them though, because if they die, you fail. Anyway, as I said before, there's 2 other videos coming up: first impressions in Middle-earth Shadow of War, and my top 10 for the N64. Let me know what you think on those videos as well. If you haven't already, hit subscribe to stay up to date with everything and get them notifications. Thank you guys for your support. You're awesome, and I will see you out there.